Hello, my name is Jordan Hyatt. I chose Brown versus Board of Education as my topic for History of Education presentation project. I chose Brown versus Board of Education not just because it was familiar and I felt like I had the most knowledge on it, because after reviewing all the websites that I did and got the information from this PowerPoint from, I know that I did not have all the information. I learned so much in this project, and it definitely opened my eyes to how we still have this issue going on and how our educational system is still implementing these laws and cases that were, 70 so years ago. Brown versus Board of Education was a pivotal Supreme Court decision that was delivered in 1954. It ruled that racial segregation in public schools was unconstitutional, effectively overturning the previous separate but equal doctrine which was established by Plessy versus Ferguson. The landmark decision paved the way for desegregation and had a lasting impact on the civil rights movement and the educational system. Now, what I'm about to read next is from one of the websites that I was talking about, where I learned a ton of information, and if you have time, go check it out, because I definitely did. Brown versus Board of Education itself was not a single case, but rather a coordinated group of 5 lawsuits against school districts, including Kansas, South Carolina, Delaware, Virginia, and the District of Columbia. Now, this photo here, I had never seen before, and I thought it was very interesting. I believe these are the parents and students who initiated the landmark civil rights lawsuit, which, as we know, it's Brown versus Board of Education, which was in Topeka, Kansas. Pictured are, in the front row, we have Vicki Henderson, Donald Henderson, Linda Brown, remember her name, James Emanuel, Nancy Todd, and Catherine Carper. Back row, we have Zelma Henderson, Oliver Brown, remember that name, and Sadie Emanuel, Lucinda Todd, and Lena Carper. The reason I told you to remember the name is because a plaintiff named Oliver Brown, which is the father of a little girl named Linda Brown, filed a class action suit against the Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas in 1951. It was a 3-year case. And because his daughter, Linda Brown, was denied entrance to Topeka's all-white elementary schools. When Brown's case and 4 other cases related to school segregation first came before the Supreme Court in 1952, the court combined them into a single case under the name Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka. In the decision issued on May 17, 1954, Warren wrote that in the field of public education, the doctrine of separate but equal has no place, as segregated schools are inherently unequal. As a result, the court ruled that the plaintiffs were being deprived of the equal protection of the laws guaranteed by the 14th Amendment. This next photo that I am showing really touched my heart. It shows what I would assume is a mother and daughter, and she's holding a newspaper that says High Court bans segregation in public schools. And she is probably looking into her daughter's eyes thinking, this is your future. We've done it, and we've paved the way for your daughters and their daughters, and so on and so forth. That touches my heart because I have a daughter of my own, and I could not imagine in that time the heartbreak that those children endured, being segregated from everybody and being deprived of education. The impact that it had on public education was schools were required to desegregate, which led to an increased enrollment of African American students in a previously all-white school. The case paved a way for future legislation and was aimed at promoting educational equity. The decision gave equal access to education to all students regardless of race. Thank goodness for that. And the students were required to change their the states were required to change their education policies and practices. which includes busing, school funding, establishing a magnet school to attract diverse students. My education philosophy is progressivism. I scored the highest on that, and I'm kind of glad I did because it really stands for a lot. And well, here's 3 examples that I included. Social justice and equality. I believe that all students, regardless of the color of their skin, should have equal access to quality education. We all bleed the same blood. We don't need to segregate anybody. Experimental learning. I believe that advocating for education is important for students' lives and their futures. The case paved the way for the educational system to have a diverse perspective and history that wasn't taught beforehand. And by doing this, it allowed all students to learn and appreciate each other's cultures. Community involvement is a big one. I believe that active participation from communities are crucial in the educational process. The idea of education should be shaped by the needs and voices within the community. And a little Brown versus Board recap. So we all know it was a Supreme Court case that declared racial segregation in public schools unconstitutional. This decision marked a significant turning point in the civil rights movement and the educational system in America. However, this is also from the website that I told you to check out. Super informative. The legal victory in Brown did not transform the country overnight, and much work remains. But striking down segregation in the nation's public schools provided a major catalyst for the civil rights movement, making possible advances in desegregating houses, public accommodations, and institutions of higher education. In this next photo I've included is the lawyers in the court case. I mean, just look at their smiles. It is a victory, not just for them, but for everybody after them and before them. It's just awesome. These lawyers are named, and after the court ruled Brown versus Board of Education that racial segregation in public schools this was after they ruled that it was unconstitutional, May 17th, 1954. As you can see, they are standing outside the courthouse. Oh no. Hang on, I can get that real quick. There we go. I'm sorry. Okay, perfect. These are my works cited, and this one right here is the one that I told you to check out. Super informative, it was great, and I really enjoyed this assignment. I'm sorry for stuttering, and I'm sorry it's a minute over, but I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.